Welcome to another illustrious edition, FME Attention Undivided. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. My name is Dan O, and I've got a lot of hats. Yeah, and I got more in the mail. Shout out to Curly Castro. Hat is coming in the mail. I'm excited for that.
Facts. It's my guy.
Supporting Castro and his recovery from his hip stuff. So
Yeah.
But we are here to talk about Brainorchestra. And I tell you, I didn't even know he rapped because I live in Maine. I didn't know he rapped. And I wanted him on FME Attention Undivided before I knew he rapped. Then E-Town General. I hear all the love for E-Town General. And Big Brain coming out. Wow. It's like double the importance here of talking to you. I appreciate that. And so 26 hard as a brick. We got Brainorchestra here. And thank you for joining me. Coming from are you in Elizabeth, New Jersey right now?
Actually, I moved. I'm in a disclosed location. I'm not really telling too many people.
That's fair. That's fair.
But Elizabeth on my back all day, so
Are you near a blizzard? Are you blizzard adjacent?
Actually, where I'm at, it snowed, but it wasn't as bad as up north. I got a call from some friends. They said shit was crazy. So
it is crazy.
My mother FaceTimed me. I was like, this shit.
Why?
Man, I know. Is it wild up there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm in Maine, so.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild. But we, lucky to have power, lucky to have internet.
Yeah, I'm glad you
got
power, warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, can't take anything for granted. So I'll tell you, and I only pick people to do this that I'm interested in talking to, right? Because I don't work for a major publication that forces me to talk to people who suck. So I'm fine. But when you gave me Big Brain, I feverishly contacted one of my people from high school. And I was like, yo, this shit coming out? This is the shit we used to play. Like from your fucking boombox in your garage when we could see our breath. This is the shit we rock to.
Or that's crazy.
This is that shit. Like
that's a good description of it, man, because it's very I try to keep it in it's like a saying from, like I stepped in a time machine with my shit. But I kept it like new, with the flavor and so hearing that is dope though, because that's what I wanted, that's one thing I wanted from it. So
no, it's I mean, and that's the thing. Like there was an original wave of nostalgic rap, right? And it got panned by all the critics for sounding like the golden age or 90s, right? And then I think people figured out post-rock Marciano, post-Ka to like change it a little bit, right? Add your own sauce to it, and enjoy that identity while not aping it, right? And so I think 2021, my favorite Brainorchestra release, right behind you, Message to You. I love Message to You. I rocked it all the time. And I just love the crisp, distinct sounds in Brainorchestra beats. Undeniable.
Man, thank you, bro. That shit means a lot. Man, Message to You, man. That was quite the project, I wanted to break a barrier of beat tape. Like what a beat tape sounds like to me. What I like in that type of realm of shit, you know what I mean? Like everything, from good beats, transitions, like that. I felt like that was my first beat tape that I stepped up. like, I felt like I had stepped up a lot with that joint.
Mm. No, it's because I would think maybe our favorite beat tapes feel like an emotional story,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's why we love Donuts. Donuts feels like an emotional story of some sort.
Either that or it's just a soundtrack to life, like the Mad Lib medicine
Oh,
shows and all that other crazy
oh,
shit.
oh,
And that's just like for the obvious, there's a million. I mean the
right,
best B tape is the DJ Shadow shit from like,
sure.
what is it, 96, 97 or something. It
Yep.
was like all samples and it was insane. And when you hear that shit, it's like that thing, that project alone stands the test of time. So it's like I was trying to make something that I felt like was like my tape like that.
Yep. Yep. And I also knew your production was like totally vital and important in terms of because I think we're in an incredible era of music, right? Like
Yeah.
um especially on the production side. And on Load Bearing Crow's Feet, your contributions grew with me the most. Like there were beats I knew I loved immediately.
Man, that
And
means a lot,
your
bro.
huh?
That means a lot, bro.
Yeah. But
That's
your
my
shit, I was
boy.
like,
That's
damn.
my boy P, yo.
Yep.
Backwood Studio, some good people over there, man.
Oh, yeah.
But,
No,
but
it's
nah, but
great.
I appreciate that, yo. Real talking, I'm hearing those records how they came out. It was great to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. No,
a
that's I mean
different.
it's
It was definitely different too. For me, because they're on a different wave, in my opinion, in a good way.
yeah. Yeah.
You know.
In
So
terms of creativity and organization, right? And just like knowing what the heck they're doing, you know?
yeah, it's great. It's great teamwork. I mean, you could tell they got the team behind them. They're putting things with care. You know what I'm saying? I respect that.
No, it's and but then I saw these videos. I saw these live performance videos of you doing shows with Sharif, Fatboy Sharif,
Yeah.
and you just like tearing the stage up lyrically. And I was like, damn, I need to go back and check this shit. And like and so Big Brain feels like a pace setter. Like that, it's one of those things. Portis Huss was this for me last year. Huss Kingpin's Portis Huss.
Hmm.
That was an album. Whenever something came out, I crossed my arms and was like, you want to be better than Portis Huss if you're trying to be album of the year, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to beat this. Big Brain is going to be that for me. It's going to be the
Wow.
benchmark for me.
Damn.
Uh, it's
That means
just
a lot, dude.
the
Word.
first listen becomes the seventh listen becomes the ninth listen. It just is that way.
Wow.
So I appreciate it. And so you, it's such a different sonic identity from something like Message to You. You produced all of it, right?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
So
Recorded everything. I had everybody pull up to record or wherever I was at the time. But I think everything was recorded at my studio at my old spot.
yep.
And
Do
yeah,
you see do you see Big Brain as an extension of what you were doing on E Town General, or do you see this as like another world?
oh yeah, nah, for sure. I feel because all my personal rap releases were all self-produced shit, but it's all like short stuff. And then I have Marmalade with
Yep.
high water music, but that's like me. That was me just like when I got back into rap, all the homies and people that had tapped in were like, yo, like I really fuck with you. So me as a producer, and a lot of people, I've said this in a couple interviews, but a lot of people don't know, I rapped before making beats, like when I was younger. But then I got really into the whole beat shit, you know what I mean? So I was for the folks that like already knew me for a long time or were already friends with me, they knew that I had that in me. But it was dope to see like producers that I fucked with, I looked up to, friends be like, oh shit, you're rapping now. So the Marmalade joint was like a longer piece, but I do feel like, yeah, this is an extension more not of like E-Town General, I guess, because that was like a short project. I feel like this is like its own segment of what I of my career. Like it's a step up. Like I'm not worried about my shit being 10 songs and replay value. Like I just wanted to put like a good ass hip hop album together. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I've been studying this shit, so I wanted to show where I'm at, like in the best way I could, like producing, rapping, and then putting it together and putting it out on vinyl, like so.
Executive produced by Linus the Owl. So shout out to Linus the Owl. Uh,
Shouts to him. That guy he was well behaved.
I watched that video with my family, the video for Judgment, and I just couldn't stop watching the Owl. It was so amazing.
Yeah, man, that was quite the
That's
experience.
yes,
Quite the experience.
awesome idea. It was so, and there usually is, and when you hear producers who rap get interviewed, they usually identify one way or another, right? Like a rapper who produced because they couldn't get beats or whatever,
Yeah.
or a producer who raps, and it's usually one way or the other. So would you say you are a rapper who produced because that's what you needed to do, or
Uh, Not really, yo. Cause like when I started rapping, um, we weren't like we were young, so we didn't really even know a shit about like buying beats and none of that shit.
yeah.
Once I got put on to like the FL studio and shit, I just started creating like MIDI music, bullshitting, and then eventually it became hip hop beats. And I never was on some like, I never thought of it like that. It just kind of came into place. Like, my beats started getting well rounded, and then around the time I wrote From the 908 is when I was recording and making a lot of beats for homies, and I'd be in the studio bullshitting, rapping with them, and then it kind of turned into like, oh nah, I could just do this shit now, like So
That's awesome.
I feel like it's whatever people want to like, label it as. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a producer
Mhm.
first, I guess, just because like arranging music, putting music together, just sampling, whatever, all that shit is like where I really put the meat and potatoes of the shit, and then rapping, I
Yep.
take it seriously, but beats and the sonic value of all that is like something I'm really into. Like I really enjoy doing that shit. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
I understand. I just think whenever I'm talking to someone who is high level at both,
yeah,
it becomes interesting because you're kind of growing two different artists at once, right?
yeah,
You're growing the lyricist and you're growing the producer, and they
yeah.
have
I
to
think about that. I think about that a lot.
they have to be on the same wavelength, right? They have to
Yeah,
be like,
exactly, exactly. I think about that a lot, and that's why I try to keep the balance. Like I could write rhymes and drop shit and whatever, but I'm at a point where like if I'm gonna rap to my beats, like I'm really about to go in.
right.
And like I have a bunch of work with other producers that people like don't even know about right now, but like
Mhm.
because I'm always doing other shit, trying to stay inspired to keep it fueled for my work. So definitely is interesting thinking about it. Like people know me as Brain, and then they also know me as like Brain, but a rapper. You know, so
Yep.
it becomes an interesting thing, I guess. But I don't focus on it too much. I kind of just give people what I want to give them. At the
I'm
time,
with
if
you.
it's beats, if it's raps, like
Yeah, no, and I was struck by, and my description probably lays it out, but I was struck by the sound of Big Brain because it is a timeless sound. Like it felt like hearing OC for the first time. You
Mhm.
know, uh, And that's a big deal, right? It felt like something, some albums you feel like you know them immediately, you
Yeah.
know, and the sound was so like that. Mad Doe comes to mind. Uh, just the kind of gentle touches of each feature, right? Orchestrated. Nothing's overdone. Uh, what do you consider like the sonic identity of Big Brain? How would you describe it?
Uh, just like raw New Jersey attitude on wax. I think that's like the best way I could describe it. Is it's me being, I'm just being unfiltered and speaking what I feel is going on, manifesting. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
but definitely this a raw piece of work. Like I want people to hear it and be like, yo, this shit right here, like, you know what I mean? Like
That's
this
awesome.
shit, yeah, it's striking a nerve, but a good one. Like I want people, and I want people to relate to it. As someone that grew up in a melting pot of a city,
Yep.
terrible like educational system and shit like that, and you know all that type of shit. Like just how upbringing of city life, and the fruits of our labor as like people like us who get up and gotta grind, and work hard every day. So
Yeah, no, I remember shaking my head and my wife's what, and I was like, I'm just not used to hearing anybody shout Elizabeth, New Jersey on a song. Like, I'm just not used to hearing that. Like, but that's the beauty of rap music, right? Like, none of us had heard Compton before we heard NWA. That's
yeah, and that's I always kept that like I love where I'm from, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
my city, like growing up, going to school, making friends, having family, all that shit, just living life out there really shaped like a lot. You know what I'm saying? And especially like you said in hip hop music and rap music, man, it's like you gotta rep where you're from, bro. I'm not gonna be one of these weirdos who are gonna like start repping where I'm based out of. Like, nah, I'm good, bro. Like, I'm bred from a specific part of the earth. And there's a reason why the music sounds this way, and why I got something to say the way I gotta say it.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'm happy that that's something that that you know what I mean, because that's dope. And that's all I want. I want people to know where I'm from and get that history.
yeah, one of my big things is that like regions matter like the most, right? And I think people who follow what I do will have heard me kind of rant about this, but like there are people who try and convince you regions don't matter anymore. The internet's kind of made everything
No, regions
flat,
matter.
but regions are everything, dude. From
Nah, they
from
matter. They matter.
if you look at the history of music, from the yodeling in country music, from the guitar work in Mississippi blues, everything's regions. Everything's
Yep.
regions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's I agree with you, bro. Like that's we can't forget about that either. Like and it's important. Yeah, it's important that we keep that like the regional feel.
yep,
We don't gotta be gatekeeping and being like, oh, I'm from this,
yep.
so this means this. It's just representing where you're from. It's a certain lifestyle where you're from. If you're from Compton, if you're from New York, if you're from fucking Texas, it's all different. You know what I mean? And that shit shows in the music. I mean, down south, trap, 3 6 Mafia, like all that shit. Like, and nobody west, north, or east was making shit like that. So yeah,
You got to look at that like, you know, the people who are selling you that regions don't matter are bad actors, right? They are,
yeah,
they are trying to homogenize and cut down the amount of flavors you got. And you got to be careful about anybody who's trying to cut down the flavors, right? Um, that's, that's a big thing for
big
me.
fact.
But
Nah, yeah, that's why I keep it very present in the sound, you know, like you know I'm from where I'm from when you hear this shit. Like,
Yep. I'm with it. So, and the other thing about this, not only rapping on it and producing it, but mixing and mastering it, right? That this kind of fascinates me because did you have any specific elements you wanted to focus on when you were mastering it in terms of highlighting those elements?
yeah, I wanted it to sound like, yeah, again, like I wanted to give it a clean, updated mix for the times, but still hold like the value of like the rawness with getting the reel to reel tape dubbing, you know what I mean? And like the way I process my beats and you know what I mean,
Yep.
ended up, you know what I mean? I just wanted to give it that feel of like it's updated but it still holds like just like that just like a timeless value. It just sounds like it has that warm feel. It's like it's not a low, mid, high mix. Like there's all types of frequencies in there. They're all doing their job. Like I mean,
No, I love that. I love that description. It's almost like you wanted it to sound like a cassette tape of a classic album, but a cassette tape of a classic album that was well mixed and well produced.
yeah, like remastered in 2022, basically. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And then the thing is that people, you know, only some people kind of get, but like you know, the digital master is a reel to reel tape master, and then that tape master is put on vinyl. So it's like once it's on vinyl, like you're getting like this very unique mix and
Mhm.
sound that I don't feel is lost. I really like it. You know, it's something that when I get a good hip hop album on vinyl, the mix always matters so much. You know, when you hear that shit, it has a specific feel to it. You know, so I strive to get that feel where it's like, oh man, like this shit just sounds like good. Like that's it.
Yeah, I don't think people do understand the mix as important, whether they know it or not. I always think of this like a bass player in a band, right? Most people don't listen for the bass player, if
Mm,
that makes sense. But unless it's like Flea, or somebody going nuts. But if it's most people are just kind of if it's a good bass player, they won't notice it. But if it's a bad bass player, they'll know something's wrong, right?
yeah,
Like, so I think that's the thing with the mix, right? They want a good mix. They'll know if it's wrong, but we can all pick out albums that were good except the mix, right? And it ruined our
yeah,
experience.
exactly.
But there's also when people are mixing and mastering, they're making choices, right? Of like
Yeah.
how they want it to be, what is important to them, um, for you to hear. So
Yeah, that's why I didn't want nobody to make those choices. I mean, I've had people help me before, but for this one, I was like, nah. I want people to hear what I'm hearing, you know, and that that just goes like I don't be giving a shit about what people care about the mixing if it's good bad. Like I know this shit. To me, it sounds good, so I put it out with that intention of like, yo, you're gonna get what I'm hearing, what I'm making. You know what I mean?
that's
In a
awesome.
pure form.
Yeah, I mean, it's total authorship, right? From the top to the bottom floor of the thing. That's awesome. So it's man. The other thing is interesting. The guest list is really interesting on this. Did you make a decision to be careful in the guest count so your voice and pen had the necessary space? Because I think you got 17 tracks, but not a lot of the tracks have guests, right? They're all on these individual places.
Yeah. Um, I'm with features. I'm like I end up making a lot of songs, but with the full length album, I didn't want to have an album that every other song had a feature. You know,
Right,
it's just
right.
like to me, like I'm not gonna drop like my first full length LP and like just put mad features for, because if we're being real, people like doing that for looks, and I'm good off that. I like just to make good shit, and I want people to hear that. So for this round, you know what I mean, of this specific record, I didn't feel like I needed much. I just got the right shit, the right beats and the right people that
Yeah.
sounded right on it to just make it that extra touch. Cause I still want people to understand that it's like, yeah, it's my first full length, fully produced, recorded, all that. So I want you to really hear what I got to say. And that doesn't take away from any of the features. You feel me? Because they splashed on that shit, and that's exactly
Oh,
why I did that. And I got my best friend Dre on a track, and he's about to start putting music out again and shit like that. Like, so it was really just I wanted it to be tasteful rather than me trying to be like, oh, I'm tapped in because a lot of albums are just they just got mad fucking features and it's like, all right, it's cool, but I like hearing people shine,
oh
on
man.
their work.
And and on Watch Your Shadow, boy, does John Monty shine.
Yeah, he went crazy.
That was unbelievable. And kudos to you for just having that start the song. Like that is the way to start the song.
Yeah,
Why
I
not?
told him. I told him when I played the loop, I'm like, bro, I need you to I need you to go crazy on this shit, bro. And I mean, that's a given with Jamonte. Anytime we work, anytime I've seen him work on anything, you know, um,
Yeah.
that guy's a fucking genius. Like, really knows how to write. So when I made that beat, I was like, yeah. At the time I didn't think it was gonna be on an album because we made it before I was thinking like fully, how I was putting a playlist of a bunch of shit together, but it wasn't called Big Brain, and I
Right,
didn't
right,
know
right.
exactly what I was doing. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, he went nuts on that shit.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you got Big Brain and Skunks. The rest kind of comes together. I mean, geez, Skunks is amazing as well. Um,
Yeah, that's my boy, man, and I wanted him on the bonus, like him and Moose and all them because I want people like if I'm gonna put features, I might as well add it as a bonus on vinyl. So if you really want to hear that shit, you're gonna buy the record unless somebody leaks it. But fuck it, you know what I mean? Like I feel like if someone put me as a bonus on their vinyl, I'd really appreciate that.
right,
I'd appreciate it either way, but I'd be like, damn, like that means a lot. Like people, only if you own this shit, you can hear it. Like that's
right.
important. So I wanted to make that part shine for them. And then my homie Dre, he getting back into the shit, so I wanted it to be fully out there so people could hear it.
Yeah. No,
I
that
had like a strategic way of putting it together involving like who was where, but yeah, man. They all came through, all of them. Izzy, Moose, Dre, Butch, my homie Butch went crazy.
yep. Yeah.
So
No, it's the features are all like make sense within the album, and that's really important. You had said something interesting. You said that you were putting together a playlist. You didn't know it was Big Brain. When did you know this is the album and this is what it means to me? Like when did that come together?
um I had a whole like wow, I'm about to look at my folder right now, but I had a whole because I had wiped my iTunes for space, right? But I had basically when I'm thinking about a major release like this, involving like me really like because this is like I was sitting down and I was like, damn, like I'm trying to put something together for real that's gonna make sense, and all the songs I made were great. I made about like 30 songs, but I had woke up one day and I had listened through like the first run of tracks and it was like 13 songs, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Made a couple more during the week and put it together with all the songs again and just dissected like the best sounding shit in my opinion at that point. What was really resonating with me and what I felt was gonna piece together to be like a nice playthrough. So I ended up like having about like 18 tracks. I was like, this is a little long. So I sliced it and then thought about the bonus tracks and all that, and then put it together basically like that. And all those extra songs, they're basically just scattered throughout other shit that I'm working on, or some aren't even coming out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just like a lot of time. I was like really having to sit with them for a long time. I mean, around summertime is when I was like, all right, this is the album. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh wow.
and then that's when I started shooting the videos and getting a bunch of shit in and getting the budget together for vinyl and ideas for what we were gonna do for artwork and shit like that.
So it wasn't like an aha moment of an individual song tying things together. It was more like listening to these groups of songs together enough to figure out how they gelled and all that.
Yeah, basically, because I listen, if I listen to a lot of my shit all the time. Like I'm
Mhm.
always listening to my shit. I'm always feel like it's all practice. You know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
like I'm putting my rounds in, and I'm listening back, and I'm like, where could I? And with this, and the cool thing about this type of practice is like we're able to go back and fix things. You know what I mean? So I'll make
Mhm.
something. I'll hear it the next day. Oh shit! I just thought about something, boom, and you just turn the shit into a whole song. I end up writing a whole fucking song or something.
Right.
So
Right.
it becomes one of those things. You know what I mean? Like just listening a lot and really seeing. For me, it was like, what do I want to show people with this album? Like, you know, from the artwork to the music. Like, but as far as music, like I just wanted to show like I had to listen a lot and show. I wanted to show people that I had took along a good chunk of time listening and putting something together.
Yeah.
Because
No, I'm with you. And I would say this is a unique question I'm about to ask because, and this is something I've been talking about with people, and seeing in my personal life and just trying to explain that I think if you're trying to be great at your art, you have to become a little self-centered. You
yeah,
you have to, because if you're too humble, right, then you'll miss your strengths and weaknesses, what you need to improve on, all that shit. So you locking in with your own stuff and just tunnel vision in with that shit. Um,
and I
sharpen.
definitely
Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
definitely agree with you. No,
Yeah,
no, I'm saying
sharpen.
I agree because you gotta feel what you're making. You gotta make sure you know what you're making is what you want to hear. And that's not gonna come with being humble or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to know you're making some fire. You got to put it out there like that too. Like, yo, this is some shit. I need y'all to hear this shit. Can't be, we could be thankful. There's ways to be humble, but like, there's just like, yeah, it's just there's a protocol we got to follow if we want people to take us serious.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's,
I mean,
that's,
it doesn't make you like selfish is different than self-centered, right? Like it does. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be selfish. You can still be cool with people and be nice to people and look out for people. But it's
mm-hmm.
about where your orientation comes from, where your vibrations are coming from, right? Like, you know, I'm centered on where I'm doing and my come up, uh, and I'm not going to lose. And
Nah, it's
that's
the
it.
mentality. It's the mentality. You gotta see it in front of you. You know what I'm saying? And be like,
Mm.
yeah, this is what I need, and that's what I'm gonna get. Like, if you don't think of it like that, people aren't gonna. In turn, it's like a psychological game, not in a bad way, but it's like the shit that I like is shit that is portrayed as like I'm putting like the art, like artwork for if we're gonna like paintings and shit. Like my favorite paintings are the type that people put out, and they're showing the intention very very boldly within the painting, and there's not that much of an explanation that needs to be made. It's
Right.
just good art. And
Yeah.
I try to translate that because it's like these people know what they're doing, and they don't gotta say much. They're just and that's that self-centered concentration, like analyzing your work and making sure you're putting something out that's gonna matter. Because that in turn, people are gonna be like, why wouldn't I support this shit if this shit is dope and sounds good or looks good? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. They don't hear you as self-centered. They hear the clarity of the vision, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
clarity. Yeah. And because you don't have that clarity if you're focused on a bunch of things, right? Like there's no way Roger Federer wasn't self-centered, right? Like
Thanks.
there's no way. He was out there like, selling cookies for people and just hanging out. And then he just stepped in and won the title. Like you can't do it like that. You can't do that shit. Yeah. I appreciate you rolling with that one. I just think that's an important thing for artists to hear, man, because if you identify what you do and you're like, oh shit, it turns out I can do this and most people can't.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, you got to start building that muscle.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
got to start showing why you're built for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You come to me for this, and
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's what I want to get people, like, when you come to a Brain Orchestra event, or you go to my website or my Bandcamp, there's gonna be everything for you. You know what I mean? Good music, good art, and it's put out with the intention, of being collected and cared for. Supported,
Yep.
not just because it's like hot, or you know what I mean?
And I want to say the whole being self-centered thing is a gift because and I didn't realize this till I was really talking to people and engaging with people and like that weren't creatives, right? And I was like, holy shit, bro, like how lucky have we been to be doing creative work our whole lives?
Yeah.
Like some people never get something they can focus on that they're incredible at that isn't part of their day-to-day work life. You know what I mean?
It's a
Isn't part of the
blessing.
job.
Shit's a blessing for real.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You just gotta be grateful for that shit, real talk, because yeah, there's people out there who don't even know like their purpose.
Yeah.
And not to say that this is the sole purpose of me or you or whatever, but
Mhm.
it's a large piece of it, like so.
That's the chain that links like the performance poet to the painter to Rome streets. Like
Yeah.
that's the linkage. But so the oh no, oh, we already did that one. The so and I overthink things. This is my nature. You probably figured that one out. I would say and the thing that's beautiful about Big Brain is it's not overly conceptual, right? It is not like a science fiction thriller that you need to like unpack. It is
Yeah,
direct,
I'm good off that shit.
undeniable.
I love it, but that's not me when it comes to the right now, at least. I can't tell the future, but right now it's the concept is what it is, just what it is. It's me, yeah, just on the record.
But I had to do it. I had to try and figure out what it meant, right? That's my nature. So for me, I'm trying to ride is the essence of the album.
Damn, yeah. You're good.
So people
That's one of the last songs, the newer songs that were recorded, for the record, because I made it and I'm like, damn, like this is like icing on the cake right here.
Yep. So if I had to explain what Big Brain is about, I would say people look for cheat codes to greatness. to avoid hard work to get there. And big brain is your declaration, and you're building your name on that work. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's hard work, man. That's what the album really shows too, you know? It's like I'm not asking for handouts and I don't give a fuck about like clout, numbers, none of that shit matters. What matters is like the shit that's being presented, you know. Is it true? You know what I mean? Cuz my boy Hottie has a bar and I tweeted it. But it says, "Yeah, they rap good, but I never lied."
Oh, that's right. Yes, I remember
Rap
this.
good, but I haven't lied yet. And
Yes.
there's a cop bar that I that really hits me. He says, um, um, they might be the hardest, but I got the truest verse or something like that. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I that's what I gravitate to. Like what you're hearing is what I've been through or what I'm doing to get to where I gotta be. And it's no filter, and I'm not here to like fucking be like a cool guy on a rap record, you know? Like
And maybe the distinction, brain, is just that, like, the truth, and you are the reason your voyage is the truth, is your voyage is the voyage to the perfectly made piece, right? And their voyage is the voyage to the reward you get for a perfectly made piece.
mm,
And those are two different fucking things.
yeah,
Those are two different things. And I think some people are on the mission to be well known, and they're filling a hole. You know what I mean? They're filling a hole that they got. But like, you're on a mission
uh,
for the craft. Yeah.
exactly, and that's how I've always been. You know, I've always made music because I love to make it. You know, I love waking up and creating something that someone wherever they're at is gonna understand where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? And given that I've been able to slowly start building that support system over the years, you know, I just wanted to show people like, you don't got to be out here bullshitting and doing shit for kicks. You just got to make good shit and people will like it. And, that's it, because a lot of people are wasting their time trying to get a cosign or whatever the fuck, or, you know what I mean? I'm just like, man, like I done seen a lot of people fail to that early. So like all of this shit ain't new to me. Like, cause I've been in the social media shit and like rapping and doing events in my city in
Mhm.
Jersey and New York since like 2010. You know what I mean? So once I seen like the way the game was in an updated way with social media, I was like, oh, I'm good off this. Like, I'm just gonna fuck with the people that understand my vision and want to take it there, for the people. Anybody else, like, I don't really give a fuck, honestly. Like,
You can just see that, you can tell the difference, right? In the people who like really do it because they need to do it. When people, I remember people would go up to me and be like, because I write short stories and I have books and essays, just all kinds of shit, philosophy, whatever.
yeah,
Um, I've been a writer my whole life, and so people would be like, "Why do you write?" And I'd be like, "Because if I don't, I don't feel good."
yeah, exactly.
That's
That's
it.
like the description. Like, if I don't wake up and like make a beat or spend my day just even listening to the shit I make, or friends of mine, like it just, yeah, that shit just like affects me for real.
Yeah, no, there's too much in my brain. Like at that point, this is what it is. Um, but no, so you talked about Elizabeth. I wanted to talk to you about Elizabeth because how is being an Elizabeth, New Jersey MC different from being a New York MC?
Um, I feel like with first, Jersey, we're like always like overshadowed. We've always been kind of overshadowed by New York. I mean, I don't really believe that now that I got older because times have changed. You know, like Jersey Club is like running up, you know, New York techno, and there's a lot of Jersey artists in New York running it up. But around, you know, like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, when I was getting my feet wet, it was always like, yo, you gotta perform in New York, yo, you gotta perform in New York, yo, you gotta perform in New York, all this other shit. And it's like, you know, I love New York and I've had amazing shows there. But yeah, you know, it's just a different environment. Like, I'm not from New York City, a big ass mecca with a
Right.
bunch of boroughs and shit. I'm from like just a urban, a city, you know, that is in New Jersey that has, you know, some type of relevance with our like, with our port and, you know, our airport being nearby and shit like that, and our school system and shit, and just how, just, you know, Bayway Refinery is like one of the biggest like refineries in the country. So it's like I just want people to know, like, you know, it's different because I'm from a city that's very relatable to any other type of city, like a New York, or
Mhm.
you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. These
so
these giant New
the,
York media outlets. Yeah, they
the
know.
main difference is like not being from New York, and it's like still being from New Jersey, like being a rapper, you know, producer, like you still have like OGs that you want to be reverend with, you know, Redman and fucking, you
Yep.
know, everybody. There's so many people like that
Right.
we could go for that long. So it's like, you know, but it is different. It's different, you know what I mean? Because I'll tell people I'm from Jersey, and they'll like an hour, they'll be like, "Oh, what part of New York you're from?" I'm like, "The fuck are you talking about?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
respect,
Outsiders. Outsiders. Pace one. Yeah, you gotta love it.
bro. Outsider is fucking
Crazy. Is Tame One, New Jersey? Is Tame One? Is it? Did I get that right?
one. Yeah, there's artifacts.
Yep. Yeah. No, there's all kinds of yeah. Is this it's weird because New York has that infrastructure of if you make noise, it'll scoop you, right? Like you'll just get a deal, you know?
Exactly.
Uh
Like if you're from Jersey making noise in New York, like you might not get a deal before somebody making noise in New York that's from New York. It makes sense though, you know. It's
yes.
stupid. It makes sense. I mean, if you know, if someone from New York is popping, you're gonna have somebody represent your state, you know. So that shit, obviously, that's what they're gonna do. But realistically, the world is big, and there's people running shit or getting their feet wet everywhere. Like, you know, people
Yeah.
from,
Nope.
you know, from random places around the world will go to Cali and then blow up, and but they're like from a whole nother country or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
New
that's
York definitely holds that though. You know.
mhm. No, it is it's not like you don't have infrastructure to succeed. It's like you're a little further away from it than everyone else, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's that's what is like that's what is perceived, I guess. I mean, have I seen it firsthand being like a New Jersey artist in New York? Yeah, but do I just like label New York as like a unwelcoming shit to people
Yeah.
from the hell no? Because New York and New Jersey, especially North Jersey, you know, there's a lot of things in common, and a
Yeah.
lot of people float around those areas anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if you're from North Jersey, you you've been in New York mad times. Like and if New Yorkers have been to like Jersey City, they've passed through Newark or you know what I mean, shit like that.
Yeah. The last question I have for you, I think it, what is the last non-rap album you fell in love with?
Last non-rap album I fell in love with.
Yep.
Uh, I got one right here on my Apple Music. I have been non-rap album. There's a couple that I've been fucking with. but the last one that I genuinely like fell in love with, I mean, there's this band that's kind of like Joy Division, but they're
Yep.
Russian.
Wow, this is awesome.
They're called Molchat Doma, Molchat space Doma, and they're like just they have this album. I don't even know the name of this shit because it's in Russian, but I'll send it to you, and we can probably link that shit. Yeah, this shit is hard.
Hell
It's
yeah.
just like different. It's like it's like 80s post punk surf rock kind of situation, but like with the Joy Division type vocals. Like that shit is dope.
Amazing.
That shit is
Amazing. We got to find this. This is amazing. I will
that shit is
definitely you send me that shit and I'll make sure it's on we get it on the screen. The That's fabulous. So yeah, no, we'll get it done, man. I appreciate you being on here. This will not be the first time we talk about Big Brain. It'll be we'll keep that conversation rolling. And yeah, keep the movement going as well. I appreciate you diversifying. You got the brainorchestra.net so that it's because Bandcamp is great, but it's a bubble that might burst. You know what I mean? So you got to be prepared with your own shit.
Yeah, it's like I use the brainorchestra.net as like the hub
Yep.
where you find everything, buy shit, and then, for the Bandcamp heads that have been fucking with me for almost 10 years now, like I keep it there for them too, So
110%. I
professional
appreciate it.
that though. I need, definitely subscribe to the website.
Subscribe, get the newsletter. It's in subscribe on
Exactly.
FME as well. We'll get it
Yeah, I'm
done.
gonna DM you. I'm DMing you that playlist of that album right now.
Hit me. Hit me.
I just
Be safe, folks.